Hi, yes, hello, hi, welcome. Hello, welcome to Music Pals. I'm so glad you stopped by. It's obviously no surprise we've been gone for a few months. It was summer in Chicago. We took a little break, but we're back now. Woohoo! Thanks so much for tuning in again and listening to the first two episodes. We obviously wouldn't do this without all of you. Some exciting stuff happening here at Music Pals. First of all, we've got a great episode on Oklahoma today with a very, very funny guest. And also, this week is our last episode with... That's a drum roll. Bad sound. No more bad sound. We're so grateful that so many of you tuned into our horrible sound quality just to hear our ridiculous antics, but put up with our shit no longer because the rest of our episodes will sound wonderful, kind of like this sounds. So thank you so much for your support so far. Please continue to listen. And thank you to Texas Radio Fish for the use of this song, which you can find on CC Mixture. Let's start the show.
Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain, and the
Music pals, what did you think of the musical?
That was beautiful.
Wasn't that good? I improv that every time. I have to admit I planned that one. I practiced it a few times beforehand.
And it showed.
I think it really paid off. Hey everybody, Dan Newford here. Welcome to Music Pals. Go for it.
Me too.
Yeah. You should introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, I'm Katie Yielding. And we're here with our guest, Alex Borkowski. Hi.
Hi guys,
It's
thanks
the
for
first time I've heard your first name.
Yeah,
The very first time.
the mystery has been dispelled.
Damn it. Borko,
Yes.
could you introduce yourself? Tell our listeners who you are.
Well, I mean, I'm like, as I was introduced, I'm Alex Borkowski. I am an improviser and I guess humor writer here in this one fine city of Chicago. And the musical that I have picked for us to talk about today is, of course, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Who would have guessed it?
I know. And so I was in Oklahoma when I was a junior.
Who'd you play?
I played Judge Andrew Carnes.
Okay.
Who is much less kind than I thought he was when I was playing him. Well, and the only reason it stuck with me because it's so weird. It's such a weird musical.
It is. Weird is a way to describe it. It's a way to describe it.
Yeah.
So before we give sort of general, like, actual dive into our thoughts of the musical, I would love to visit our brand new segment that I'm so excited about.
Me too.
Do you want to say at the same time the name of it? 1, 2, 3.
Nerd alert.
It's called
Really
Nerd Alert. Katie is a musical nerd, as you know, listeners. She knows everything and anything about musicals. Well, to an extent. You can Google it. At the very least, you could Google it to know everything or anything.
Yeah.
So we realized we should tap into that wealth of knowledge, not Google, but Katie's brain,
This old noggin.
and have her just give some history, some background,
Yeah.
the interesting things about the characters, etc., etc. So she's on the clock. Nerd alert. Set your timers for
Let's go.
undetermined amount of time, perhaps 3.5 hours.
And
Go.
start. All right, so the original Broadway production opened in 1943. And the big thing that's famous about Oklahoma in the movie and in the original Broadway production is that it was choreographed by Agnes DeMille, a very famous modern dancer. And so before this, they had a tryout in New Haven, and it was called Away We Go, but then they changed it to Oklahoma because the song Oklahoma was such a big hit that there was like a huge standing ovation and everything, so they were like, no, we have to call this musical Oklahoma, and they added an exclamation point to the end of it. So that's technically like in the title, the exclamation point.
Well, I won't disrupt the nerd alert, but
because the audiences just like went apeshit for this Oklahoma song. So it's originally based on a play called Green Grow the Lilacs. But it sounds like it was boring, so I'm glad that they made it into this musical. And the Tony Awards didn't exist when this first opened on Broadway, but if, they would have won if it did exist.
really?
Yeah.
I have so many questions. Continue with Nerd Alert.
So then it toured America, then it opened on the West End, then it had a few Broadway revivals. The first was in 1951 where Florence Henderson played Laurie, aka Mrs. Brady.
Mrs. Brady. I almost said Marsha Brady. That was way wrong.
Inappropriate.
Super inappropriate.
And then another revival on Broadway in 1979 where Christine Ebersole played Ado Annie, and she's a huge Broadway deal. She's been in everything, a lot of TV. She was on SNL for a season even.
Oh, wow.
So that's a big deal. And then it revived again in London in the 80s, and then in 1998 as well, where Hugh Jackman played Curly. All our hearts explode.
I loved him.
For our dreamboat.
young man.
Oh, so sexy. And then the last Broadway revival was in 2002, where Andrea Martin played Aunt Eller, which I would kill to see. I would kill all of you to see.
You would murder us.
I would murder you to
person
see.
Play
She is the crazy aunt in My Big Fat Greek Wedding, if you remember that.
Oh, I
She's
never
the
saw that.
funniest woman in the world. So then the movie is very famous. It came out in 1955, starring Shirley Jones, and that was her first film debut, and she went on to be in Carousel and Music Man as well. You've probably seen her in those. And then, let's talk about it. So, Oklahoma is really, really important because it's the first musical that integrates song and dance into the story fully and uses it to help tell the story. So this kind of form that they created influences like every musical that comes after it. It's really important. Before this, musicals were always comedies, and it was always more of like a vaudeville variety show kind of structure. And this is like influenced by Showboat, but this is like considered the first one that really uses all of those aspects to like deal with darker themes and tell a complete tale from start to finish called a book musical, quote unquote. So that's why it's in every history class. And so then we need to talk a little bit about Rodgers and Hammerstein as well.
Who I knew.
Yeah, because they're so
I know those
famous.
guys.
They're huge, huge deals. They've done such musicals as Carousel, South Pacific, King and I, Sound of Music. They've done a really racist musical called Flower Drum Song. That's maybe the most racist musical in the universe, but the songs are sometimes beautiful.
South Pacific is also pretty racist too.
No, it actually does a great job because it deals with racism.
Oh, interesting.
And it condemns it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
South Pacific is very important for that reason.
Also, this musical is super racist, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. But the pair among them, they've won 34 Tony Awards, 15 Oscars, a Pulitzer, and 2 Grammys.
Wow.
So they know their shit. It's just like beautiful stuff that they're writing together. And so Oklahoma is a big deal too because this is the first time that they worked together as a pair. So this is the first musical they did together.
Genesis of brilliance.
Yeah. So before this, Richard Rodgers worked with a man named Lawrence Hart, but then passed away. So
I don't know what
he was an alcoholic. It was sad.
Yeah.
But then these two worked together and started their careers in tandem. Yeah.
Is that
Some
end Nerd
cool
Alert?
stuff. I think that's everything. I think we got through it.
The ending of Nerd Alert has to be something like
And that was nerd.
like
Now all you nerds are alerted.
Nerd alerted.
Crisis of nerded.
Crisis of nerded.
Oh.
Well, thank you very much
We'll
for that.
workshop
Nerd Alert.
it. You're welcome.
That was fantastic.
It was fun to
Hope you
research.
enjoyed that, audience, because we're going to keep doing it. Because rather than just me talking complete nonsense about
Because we're in
musicals,
charge.
because we run the show.
This is our
You're
damn
in the
podcast.
seat.
Yeah.
There's so many things in there. I was so curious about the exclamation point. I was like, why? I actually wrote that down. Is that necessary? And now I understand. Like, they were like, people love Oklahoma, so
What?
we're just going to tell them, Oklahoma!
We're just
Shouted at them.
banana oil crazy for it.
Banana oil crazy.
What is that even? Oh, that's all right.
Fair.
So the exclamation point, there was one other point in there that I wanted to unpack, but I've since lost it.
What you said about it being the first musical to fully integrate like dance into the telling of the story was also like very interesting to hear because you can definitely see that in just about any production.
Exactly. Just having the Dream Ballet in it in general like puts it into a whole other category of musicals.
Oh, yeah.
Simply because, is it because it's it's just dance to communicate? Is that the reason why it's in a new category?
Exactly.
Ah,
yeah.
okay.
It's not dancing for the sake of dancing. It's helping to tell the story.
Yeah.
And communicate character and emotion and all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So before it was like dancing is just added frou.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
I'm just like pure entertainment
Okay.
instead of serving a higher purpose.
Nice. Very interesting.
Very cool.
All right. So let's just quickly just kind of go around the horn like we do, and kind of concretely, how do you feel about the musical in terms of like it, love it, hate it, sort of like it, that sort of thing? Katie, why don't you say?
I'm gonna say that I'm like close to loving it.
Close to loving it.
Close to loving it.
Okay. I'm excited to hear your score.
I think maybe watching Hugh Jackman in it helped a lot.
Well, yeah.
But on the whole, like, it's really great.
Borko.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, like, I think I'm tempted to give it, like, a lot more leniency just from what we found out in Nerd Alert.
Yeah.
But, like, I will be honest, the reason that Oklahoma stuck with me and the reason that I wanted to, like, talk about it is because, like, so many parts of it are, like, so weird, and it's clearly Rodgers and Hammerstein, like, feeling out how much drama they're allowed to have.
Yeah.
And they just really don't stick the landing on some of it.
No, they do not.
So, I mean, like, I would say, like, I like it. I mean, like, I have fond memories of it. I think, in terms of, like, title number, Oklahoma's, like, probably one of the greats.
Exclamation point.
Yeah, Oklahoma! But yeah, I definitely, my take on it is, like, I see what they were going for, I just don't think it, like, worked 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. I think, you know, your Nerd Alert did. I have to take things at face value, I think, because I know so little about musicals in general.
Yeah.
And I have no appreciation for musicals whatsoever. I hope that will grow as this podcast continues. It already has. I've already picked up on moments where I was like, I see what you did there.
I'm proud of you.
So setting Nerd Alert aside, it just missed so hard. It was a reckless musical. We're just gonna throw shit in however we want. We're gonna be like you said, hey, does this work? Oh no, that didn't work. Like, what's going on here? We're gonna go do this weird like Scrooge scene where we're doing Ghost of Christmas Past about how Jeff died or something like that.
That's a weird ass scene
Yeah.
for sure.
What is going on here?
It's a bummer.
And I'm excited to talk you through my notes on the intro, because I love my notes on the intro because they encapsulate the musical overall for me. And I'll do that in a moment here, but it not only was it reckless, it just seemed like every number went on for so long. For so long. It never ended. And I just was like, oh, this was a nice number. Oh, wow, it's still going. Whew, 3 minutes later, still going. I just couldn't.
Well,
But, you know, I didn't hate it. I liked it more than Grease.
Nice.
I liked it more than Grease. So if I can start, and then I'll shut up, I really want to, I was so excited to read you guys my notes on the introduction. I'm going to read them word for word. Because I was typing them, I watched the musical. No Amazon trivia on this one.
That's all right.
So bummed. But I got a lot of IMDb trivia.
Sexy.
Anyway, so I was watching it, taking notes. First of all, love the title slide overture. Finally, I understand where I am in this production. I like a place marker. I love a place marker.
Oh boy.
And then I literally just wrote, "This music is great. I feel like I'm about to board a rickety water ride at a theme park." Also love that the song ended and they went into a springtime ballad. Now I feel like I'm prancing through a delightful field of flowers. And then I paused for a moment. Okay, I'll just say it. 2 hours and 28 minutes is long for a musical. Probably could have cut some of this 4-minute long overture.
It's such a beautiful song, though.
It's so nice.
Oh, I love
it's
it.
such a great song. I wrote really digging Gordon McRae's voice.
Ooh,
Loved it.
Gordon McRae.
Is that his name?
Driving
Is that
me
how you say his
crazy.
name? Driving me crazy.
With that voice, ooh la la. All the sounds of the earth are like music. Is like one of my favorite lines from a musical.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It really primes you that song for just like a nice wholesome time, and then you don't have that nice wholesome.
You really don't have that, yeah.
It does not deliver
So,
on that nice
1,
wholesome
2.
time.
I guess like that is sort of one of the reasons why I do appreciate the darkness of Oklahoma, because if it was just like 2.5 hours of
Sunshine and Rainbow,
right, of the Dandy Warhols, like all the money in the simple life, honey. Like, I don't want that. Like,
was that, that's not realistic enough for you? That's not nihilistic enough
well, it's
for
just
you?
like, I mean, it's to me now. I mean, like perhaps perhaps when this musical was written, like of course, like that's what you want to see is that like there are like honest, hardworking people, but like nowadays, like that seems sort of like fetishistic to be like, oh, well, these people are just like they're so close to the earth. And, like, they just, like, love everything so much. Because, like, you see them do, like, some pretty reprehensible things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is nice to... So, I think what you're getting at is it's too on the nose to say, like, yep, they're just wholesome people, and they do their farming, and they get their cattle. Like,
right.
You want to see the rotten underbelly of that beautiful society. Otherwise, you would have been like, there's something behind the curtains here.
Right.
Because we know it wasn't. Right? Because we know it wasn't just some idealistic, beautiful prairie.
For sure.
It was a hard life.
It was. Some interesting things going on in that hard life. So to sort of, when we're introduced to Ann Eller and... first of all, when he scares Aunt Eller, it's like, dick move, dude.
Yeah.
It just shocks her. She's like, oh, she's like 4,000 years old. What are you doing?
And she's like high-stepping later.
She's great later.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard a word she said.
That's true. You don't know. She
She
looks
just
old.
opened to this old woman churning butter.
Yeah.
And then he scares her, like, fuck you, man. Fuck you, man.
Heck you.
I'll just spoiler alert. I loved Laurie's character. I thought she was like I felt, and I'm curious to know if you guys felt the same way. She sort of like represents fairly feministic values in a lot of ways, which I thought was awesome. Throughout, I think it falters a little bit, but I think overall she certainly does. That line when she walks out and she like sings a little bit and she grabs the bird and she looks at him and goes, "Oh, I thought you were somebody." It's like, sick burn. Sick burn.
Some aloe vera. Really? Yes.
I came out here because I thought somebody was here, but it turns out it's just you, you
Don't
piece of
even know
shit.
that. Yeah. All the women in this show, I think, are pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
Annie, Ann Eller, and Laurie are all strong ladies.
I have thoughts on, but I'll talk about it when we're introduced to Annie.
She's complex. There's a lot to dig into there. So I'm like really excited.
She's my favorite.
Yeah, we'll see when we get introduced to her. But so this is the moment in the musical too where I think I started to kind of get over the hunky dory, everything's great, and so I started to notice these fake Southern accents that they were doing. I was like, guys, you gotta stop. It's like when your friend's doing something super offensive at a bar, and you're like, you gotta stop. You gotta stop.
I know you're drunk, but you gotta
stop. And that's how I felt listening to this accent sometimes. Like, you knowed it was me.
You knowed it was.
This is offensive.
And that's also like that's extra egregious because it's like written into the book.
Yeah.
Like there's no. I sort of feel like it's sort of indefensible to like write dialect into the script. Like that's something the actor needs to find on their own.
Yeah, and if they don't, then they're just going to play it the way that they
right.
They just write it like a normal human being.
Mm-hmm.
The other realization I almost forgot. Holy shit! That Laurie is Shirley Jones from Grandma's Boy. Did you ever see Grandma's Boy?
No.
Well, that's not super important. Great movie, but in Grandma's Boy, she bangs Nick Swardson.
Whoa.
It's just like this dope.
Sexy.
God, you're so the man whose star truly could not dim.
He bangs Shirley Jones.
Wow.
Ooh la la.
Yeah.
Machi,
I'm gonna
machi.
go home and watch Grandma's Boy.
All right, so what was the next scene there? I think it was when they were talking about the shiny little Surrey.
Yeah, Surrey with the fringe on top.
Fringe on top.
Such a great tune.
I thought that was just grease lightning. Grease lightning in colonial times.
It was. My hot ass ride.
So why was that? Why do you think that was such a great song? Like what?
I think it's actually pretty silly of being a little sarcastic. It's fun. It's the one that gets stuck in my head the most.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't even know how it went now. Like it's already out of my head.
I like it. I don't know. It's frivolous.
You just like how
The melody is nice.
yeah, Fair enough.
Yeah.
I think the thing that caught me off guard especially in the version I watched, which was the Hugh Jackman version, full disclosure.
Yeah.
It's like weird how like quickly Laurie goes to like being angry again after he's like, oh, it's not real, like it's not a real thing. Which
Yeah, and then he's like,
sort of
JK,
weird.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, which like one, like come on, don't.
She's a gold digger.
I ain't saying she's a gold digger, but
She messed with a notebook.
yeah,
Although she a little bit is.
She definitely is now.
yeah, true. By the end of it,
I wrote that too. I was like, Curly, do you or do you not have this big wagon? We just tearing me apart. I don't understand. Can you just tell me?
Really.
Oh, it was driving me insane. And then later on in the show, he brings it up again, and then he says he doesn't have it.
Right.
Do you have the wagon or not?
do you have the dang wagon?
Don't give a shit.
The damn Surrey.
Dang story with the fringe on top.
Rings on top.
But it sounds nice, right?
Sounds really nice.
I don't
wow.
know. It sounded like a shitty carnival.
The wheels are yellow.
Maybe
the
a little
upholstery's
gaudy.
brown.
I loved, like, throughout it, I was kind of like, this landscape seems off. But then when you're at the train station and you pan on, there like these sort of freestanding mountains in the background. That's not Oklahoma. That's
No.
Mexico or something like that.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
where
New
did you
Mexico,
film
yeah.
that?
Oklahoma's very flat.
They just had to have something in the background besides like blue sky and
then-
brown land.
Yeah, right.
And that's such a weird part to it too. Is it's sort of like, I guess I don't know that much about Oklahoma's like history as like a territory,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of guns out there for how like close to like civilization it is.
Yeah. and they're just sort of like ruling society under some sort of weird martial law.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
They have a judge, but like
The best named character, Cordy Lamb. Absolutely the best named character. Only because I don't. Please tell me if there are like too many personal anecdotes. I'm sorry.
No,
about this.
go.
So the same year that I was in it, I'm from the suburbs of Cleveland. A school much closer to the actual city of Cleveland also did Oklahoma, and at the very beginning, their Cordy Lamb was the coolest. He had on like a pair of Sweet Air Jordans. They were just like not at all concerned with verisimilitude. But at the scene we're on right now, the one where Will comes back, someone had forgot to turn off his microphone, so you just hear someone screaming from backstage, "Don't touch me there, Cordy Lamb! Don't touch me there, Cordy Lamb!" And for the longest time, that was all I could think of whenever he was on stage.
I want to
was he
reprise
touching
this.
that?
I don't know.
Like somewhere that he shouldn't have been touched. Don't
Yeah.
touch me there, Corey. I want that to be in the reprise or in
Yeah,
the redone.
Cordy Lamb, you gotta stop touching me there, Daniel. You're married.
That's amazing.
That sounds scary.
What I definitely do want to talk about Kansas City, because that is the song from this musical that I reference the most.
Why's that?
Just in your everyday life.
Just my everyday life. Well, I had a friend who used to work in Kansas City for like a production company, and I would straight up like every time he came back, I'd be like, "Yeah, here everything's up to date in Kansas City."
That's the joke.
Yeah, that's literally the joke. It's a non-joke.
It's just a sentence.
But it's always there for
lyrics
you.
from the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it Kansas City, Kansas City, Missouri? Kansas City?
It's both.
It's one thing, and then there's a line down the middle.
Yeah.
Well, which one are they referencing?
Well,
I asked that myself here.
whichever one's closer to Oklahoma, probably.
Probably.
I don't know. I don't know United States geography at
Just whichever one has the burly Q. Like, let's just look it up.
It's true. All right. We'll look it up. That's what we do here.
Oh boy,
Oh boy.
what a sexy time
Absolutely.
for
yeah.
Will Parker.
She was fat and pink and pretty.
Well,
This round
he
of
thought it
those.
was fake, but then
So she began to peel. Yeah, which is like the grossest term for like an onion or
like a hot,
like a sexy onion.
sweaty onion.
Like a banana. Just imagine like the stink lines coming up like, yowza!
Oh boy! Heyo!
The growl that you just did as well.
That was a cough.
Yeah, that was good.
It was good. It was so
It was
funny.
so in context. The
Borko
conversation.
just that to me.
Yeah, so also in that same song, I loved so much the scene where he goes, "This is called ragtime," and then Tess, "Don't like it." I laughed so hard I rewound it several times, and then I finally stopped rewinding it and watched the rest of the scene. And then later on, he taps some more, and the guy goes, "Still don't like it." I was like, "Yes, this is the best."
Principled man.
Wait, is that the character's name who says that?
No, I just think that he has a lot of principles, and I think we should respect
Principled
him.
man.
Yeah, the principal man.
The principal man. I don't know.
It's John Harvard principal.
But that was such a great moment in that for me. Also, though, so this was kind of the first comment I made about the dancing, because now that, again, nerd alert aside, I was just there's so much freaking dancing in this show, and I felt like some of the dancing. Most of the dancing didn't need to occur. The dream sequence, I admit, I wrote, this is good. This makes sense. This is, part of the show. But, this whole dance scene where Will is dancing, he's not that great of a dancer. He's way better than I am. At least in the version I watched, he's kind of a mediocre
Which
dancer.
version did you watch?
The movie from Shirley Jones.
Okay,
It's an old movie. But he's not a great dancer. It's just you're giving him a lot of time.
There's cool rope tricks, though.
I later wrote, "Hot dog! Look at that lasso work."
That lasso work.
So yeah, it does do cool lasso work. I believe we then jump into Skinny Dipping Glory.
Ooh. I don't think this was in my version.
Wasn't it
It was
yours?
not.
Oh, in the movie version.
In the movie.
Yes.
She's getting...
Which is also when we are introduced to just rampant, reckless, again, racism.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
In Ali Hakim.
Ali Hakim is
my
a true bummer.
Oh my God.
As soon as he showed up, my notes are just in all caps. I totally forgot about Ali Hakim. Holy jeez.
Yes. I also have all caps. This is so racist. I can't.
But it's also it's weird racism that gets a lot of things wrong.
Yeah.
He is Persian by way of a Brooklyn Jewish man, because he, at least in the version I watched, he just can't decide whether or not he's Yiddish or whether or not he's trying to be Persian.
Same exact in this one. He has an Indian accent sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes he goes Irish, Irish and Scottish.
I feel like sometimes it's played that he's not actually Persian, that he's pretending to be to sell stuff, so that sounds fancier.
That's interesting.
And then at the end, he breaks the accent altogether, and he's has a southern accent like everyone else.
I guess maybe that makes it less racist.
A little, but it still makes the musical less racist, but it makes that character racist. I guess, which is maybe better for the musical as a whole. I don't know, but it's still bad.
Yeah, but at least his character has a purpose and some sort of precedent for being super racist. Yeah, that makes me feel a little bit better about it, because I said Eddie Albert, who's the guy who played it, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah.
Also, I was wondering, what was the audition process like? Hey, what accents can you do? And you started it. What about a little more racist? Kick it up 4 or 5 levels on
no
racist
problem,
style.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
totally.
I got it.
I know exactly what you want,
I sort of feel it was just how many accents can you do? None? Great, you don't need to. Who cares?
Yeah, that's true.
Just do your impression of a bad accent.
Do your impression of a doll who's run out of batteries, and let's see what that sounds like.
Don't let the man dictate what your view of what a Persian should sound like. Just go along.
Are you a method actor? Perfect. Don't. Don't learn anything about the society about which you're about to portray. So also in this scene we're introduced to Gloria Graham. Ado Annie.
My fave, my lady. She, like Marty, is the fuckboy supreme of this musical, and I love her so much.
See, and I knew you'd say that.
She is so great. It's just so fun to kiss boys. She's doing it. She's getting it. She's so cute and fun. Love it.
What are your thoughts on it?
Good question. Yeah. I even have here that it's very. I feel like the prevailing analysis is that her ownership of her body, what you're saying with just she wants to like kiss boys. It like feels good and it rules. It's sort of like painted as like an inability to say no rather than like an indifference like towards it. And like I was talking to a friend about this before this, but I feel like it's so easy to just like put her in the same. I mean, like it's very easy to like have that characterization of she's like loose, but I feel like there's a more informed way to do that, and I think we can talk to that a little bit more. I think we can speak to that a little bit more with All or Nothing.
So I agree. I believe.
Yeah.
I also think that she was a very layered character, and there was a lot of she plays an important role. But I also think that her role is like to play the person I'm supposed to hate the most. I felt like it's interesting that you guys, to an extent, mostly you, Katie. I knew you were going to be like, oh, she's like Marty. She's fuckboy supreme, which is the exact phrase you use to represent Marty. And I knew you'd feel that way. But I feel as though she represents the incorrect perception of women, that they only care about boys and clothes and fancy things.
Yeah.
And I thought that was brought to life, or at least it was sort of codified for me, because in that scene, the song, what was it again?
Many a New Day.
Many a New Day, which I felt was a very strong, had like some strong feminist overtones.
Yeah.
Undertones.
Pretty overt, yeah.
She's not in that scene at all. She's like the only woman in the cast who's, I guess Ann Eller as well, who's not in that scene. And so I was like, because I feel like this scene is like, this is how women actually are, real people who don't just think about the next boy they're going to kiss.
Well, yeah. I think that there doesn't need to be one way for a woman to be, though.
Right, and I feel like
they can
be
like that, or they can have
true
ownership of their body in any way that they want.
And I'm not arguing that.
Not like talk about boys at all.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like yeah.
But you're right. I don't mean to argue that point. I mean to argue that I think she represents. I think the two main women in this, Lori and Annie, actually represent the two opposing perceptions of women. Not that women need to be this or that, but this perception that women are only one thing, I feel is what Ada Annie is intended to represent. Versus Lori, who I think is very multifaceted, and so she's intended to represent a perception that like women can be more than just boy crazy. That's how I felt about Ada Annie. And then the fact that she was cast by a woman who is literally tone deaf.
Oh no.
According to IMDb trivia, tone deaf Gloria Graham, who played Ada Annie, sang without dubbing, which required that her songs be edited together from recordings made almost literally note by note. They literally were just like picking and choosing notes that she got correct.
That's pretty funny.
Splicing them together. And so I thought that, again, satisfied the point where, like, she's intended to be the character that you don't like. At least she was for me.
It's impossible for a man to be defined by any sort of, like, sexual urge. It's always, like, part of his personality rather than, like, the whole of it, which I feel like Ada Annie can in some way represent. I would definitely say that is very much up to the interpretation of the character per... Sure. It's not, like, writ into the DNA of the character, I don't think. I don't think that... I think it's, like, a very, like, easy and I would probably say lazy route to just be like, oh, well, she's just, like, loose and, like, boy crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, like, it just takes, like, you know, spoiler a little bit, it just takes, like, someone who, like, will not accept her, like, at that level to tame her spirit when I don't necessarily think that's, like... I think that there is, like, considerable nuance, and I think that it's interesting that you bring up Many a New Day, because I feel like the musical itself, like, buries a lot of Laurie's nuance in, like, why she does a lot of the things that she does that are, like, basically left up to inference and are never, like, outright stated.
Absolutely. Which I think is perhaps an intentional choice, right? Because you're intended... The audience is supposed to make their own judgments on who these people are and these characters are and how they kind of fit together.
True.
And the actor.
And the actor.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think overall we can all agree that Ada Annie was a well-written character. But I hated her. I hated her so much.
Wow. All right. Strong opinions make for strong podcasting, though. So
that's right. Very much. But The only other note I have a couple other notes on that, but the main note is while Ali Hakim, as Ado Annie refers to him in the version I watched, while he is deeply racist, boy, how fun would a peddler as a job be? Oh my god, you just go around and invent what things are. Like, this was made of real lava. Like, it's amazing. This
Job
is
for
made of Play-Doh.
improvisers, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh,
Who's
it's so
gonna know?
good. It's so good. I love it. Just make things up.
Oh my gosh.
I would love, if I could go back to the time of this, the old Western times, I would choose peddler.
I
as
think
my
that's
career.
perfect for you,
It'd
yeah.
be so fun.
That's your brand, for sure.
However, not a racist peddler.
No.
Please don't be.
Hopefully not.
I feel like with your coloration, it'll be hard to be a racist peddler.
Yeah, I'm totally. I'm from India.
Maybe that makes it more racist.
Yeah,
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about Judge Carnes for just like a hot second? Because this is the first scene he shows up in.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about Judge Carnes.
Cool. Good, because I want to talk about Judge
I know you
Carnes.
do.
He shows up. It's for his first scene in which scene again?
At the very tail end, when it's Ado Annie, sort of like basically like misinterpreting Ali Hakim's
marriage
like
thing.
Overs as being like marriage.
Yep. Yes. Sorry, my notes are a little out of order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just, and Judge Carnes just sort of comes in, and I feel like there's like it like would be really sweet if he like wanted to just see that Will Parker had that $50 to be like, you know, like my baby is like accustomed to a very specific lifestyle, and like I want to make sure that she's taken care of because like I'm getting up there in years and like she needs to be married. When instead it's just like I will literally marry my daughter to whoever gives me $50.
Yeah, I just
don't
want
care.
more money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So that point about how he sort of just wants to sell his daughter off to whoever has the highest ticket, well, really $50 in general, was precisely the reason why, bringing us to our first segment, or at least my version of my portion of our first segment. Who do you relate to?
Uh-oh.
Ooh.
Judge Carnes.
Judge Carnes, really?
Because A, he's got a healthy skepticism for the racist dude.
For sure.
So like, I don't know about you. I don't like you, but I guess you're okay if you have
But
$50.
then he wants him.
Well,
That's the son-in-law.
yeah. Because
Okay,
flip
sorry.
side, he also just doesn't really care for Ada Annie. He's like, I don't really like that you're my daughter, but you are. So here we go.
So sad.
It's
And
really
so I
sad.
thought that character represented my perception of those two characters so precisely that I must relate to Judge Carnes. Also,
This bums me out.
being a cranky farmer is kind of how I see my life, my
Cranky
trajectory.
prospector.
Yeah. Cranky, like weird prospector missing a tooth.
Yeah, exactly.
That's Stan's like go-to
Prospector
character.
Joe. Although I've never done it. I've never actually done that.
Like every time in class, you just be you're just making prospector.
Whatever we should do. What are we doing here? So that was the character I related to most. You guys can feel free to tell me who you related to first, but or we can continue. Okay,
I'm
go.
absolutely happy
Yes.
with that. I want to say like this is twofold for me because like I really wish I was like an Aunt Eller who's just like seen it all, like no bullshit, but like I'm like very definitely a Will Parker, just like dumb and like looking.
Found the one you want.
Right,
It's
like well, not even that. Just like really looking to care for somebody, but like in his own like gross way, which we'll get to again. All or nothing, but just like very like dumb and like gormless is sort of like how I view myself. It's just being like I wouldn't like if I was getting like rooked by like a racist peddler, like I probably wouldn't know either.
That's very obvious.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it. And I think everyone wants to be Aunt Eller, right? She's the coolest character.
Oh, for sure.
You can't just call yourself Aunt Eller unless you're full of yourself.
Ooh.
Yes, great segue. I knew you were gonna. Alright, go.
Well, the thing is, I want to be cool like Ado Annie,
She's not cool.
but I think I'm gonna end up like Aunt Eller. I am just gonna be like alone churning butter.
Okay.
Like,
Well, that's the flip side of that. Is she's not exactly.
like I'm fun, but like no one knows it.
My interpretation of her was that she like thrice laid dudes like and then stacked them 6 high. She just like was wrecking dudes when she was
Wrecking
younger.
dudes.
Yeah, racking them up.
Yeah.
Same here.
She had a baby by one of them, and she said, "That's it. That's all." I
Tight,
guess-
cool.
Yeah, that's
Well,
all
not even like her baby because
That's not her baby,
Lori's her
she's the aunt.
niece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the niece. You're right. So
Yeah,
she was
daughter.
like, "I'm just gonna."
Also, like fun
Nice
fact,
dudes.
Lori is misspelled for like half of my notes.
Well, it's they spell it
They
weird.
spell it really weird.
Laurey, proper spelling, yeah.
The EY, strange.
All right,
I
so
don't
we
spell
got
it like that either.
we've
Okay.
got Judge or Mr. Carnes.
Judge Carnes, yeah.
And we've got Aunt Eller, and we've got Will Parker.
Will Parker.
Will
Yeah.
Parker. For some reason, I thought that was Spider-Man.
Peter Parker.
Peter Parker. There it is.
They're
Great.
good.
That's who we relate to. All right, so I think jumping back into sort of the scene by scene, we've broached the subject of Many a New Day.
Yes.
I think it's important to dive into it. I thought that
Dive in.
that was a scene for me that kind of was like, I got real bored. We're at like 37, 40 minutes into the version I watched. And I got real bored prior to this, and then this kind of came on, and I was like, all right, I think we're turning a new leaf here. I think people are going to stop being kind of so predictable and kind of obnoxious, and Laurie's going to start kind of coming into her own as what I feel to be a very feministic character. So I liked that song. The dancing, just so
In the movie, it's a bummer.
oh my god! And like,
It's
who wants to see like 15 women dancing in a small living room?
no, I'm just a mill does. That's the only woman that does.
Just the only one that matters.
It was like a weird, awkward.
I mean, it's
elementary
modern
school
dance.
dance
What do you want?
class.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what it is.
yeah.
But great song.
It was
Such a fun song.
I'm indifferent to it.
Well, this is my feminist anthem,
That's fair.
Borko, so
Even more than single ladies.
way more than single lady.
Formation, maybe? I don't know.
I think every like musical theater lady has like sung this after a breakup and been like, "Fuck you,"
You'll never hear me say.
and like sung this like crying a little bit, but like
Getting a little bit of Ben and
trying to be
Jerry's.
okay about it. Yeah.
By a little bit, I mean. Yeah, it's a super. I mean, it's a great moment in the show. I felt one of the like 3 good moments in the show for me.
Oh,
Okay.
Like it was just like genuinely like cool. You're saying something now.
Yes.
Finally, someone's saying something.
finally. Cool.
Yeah.
I agree.
Where are we from there?
Well, so after Many a New Day, what happens is that we sort of like brushed over this, but like throughout all the scuffle of these songs, we found out that Laurie has agreed to go to the dance with Judd.
Yes.
who
Oh, that's an
is
important
like sort of introduced, but not really.
Yeah.
And this is what I think is like weird about the perception of like Laurie being feminist is that the musical itself like buries the lead on the reason she says like yes to Judd Fry, because like the musical and like a lot of the text posits it as being like, oh, she's just doing it to be like Curly jealous.
Yeah.
But what it actually is that she's terrified of him and
Yeah.
like what he will do if she says no.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think is it's fair to say like, oh well, that's not really representing feministic values, but also Judd is a fucking lunatic.
He's such a creep.
He's
very
very
Has
freaking lunatic.
No business being played by a high schooler.
Seriously.
Like, absolutely not.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's I absolutely agree that there's like, well, maybe it's not, she's not so feminist because she's like the whole musical is built around the fact that she just can't say no to a dude.
Well,
I mean, it's from 1940.
True.
What? Like, it's not going to be.
Yeah,
and
right.
it's not necessarily like that it like makes her less feminist, but I think it's such like a weird disconnect that like a lot of like the characterization of like the conflict in the story can basically be like, well, I mean, if like Laurie wasn't so stubborn and trying to like show up Curly that she didn't like him, like a lot of this wouldn't have happened, when that's not really like true to her character, when like she really doesn't have a lot of like, because one, Curly could stand to be like much less of a dick to her. Like,
Yeah.
like
If we just like were honest to each other about their feelings,
yeah,
we'd be in a much better situation.
I feel as though if Laurie just would have went to Judd and be like, hey man, is it cool? I actually really like Curly. Can I just go with him instead?
Or in the first place, if Curly was just like, I like you, and Laurie was like, I like you too, like that'd be tight.
And then and then later Judd asks Laurie, and she goes, "I probably already go with Curly,
I'm
but
probably
not."
and he's like weird, and he'll still be weird and gross about it because as we see, like that's just who Judd Fry is.
Yeah.
But like there's much less of this like weird disconnect where it's like, oh, like Laurie's really like digging her own grave here, and it's like, no, not really. Like,
Not really.
Yeah,
She's
not at
afraid
all.
she'll get murdered.
yeah,
Yep.
assaulted and murdered.
Good reason. Yeah.
Yeah, what a terrible reason. Like, we just jump forward to Poor Judd is Date and then
Yeah.
Lonely Room.
Well, for one moment, I do want to just the next moment that sort of again solidified Laurie as someone who at least represents some degree of feminist value in this entire musical was that song where she's singing a list of don'ts that people will think were in love. That was cool. I like she was like saying you don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. I was like, okay, cool. Like now she's kind of calling the shots. But then it flips to just Curly doing the exact same thing. And now you don't do this. Like, all right.
They're both just so annoyingly stubborn to each other.
Yeah.
Just like make out already.
Just
like
kiss.
I'm done.
Yeah, seriously.
Which I think inevitably was what that number was intended to do. Is just like that. Will they? Won't they?
Yeah, I get the point
wanted
of
it
it.
to be something more. I wanted it to be like her saying, "Listen, I'm a strong, independent woman." It wasn't that.
Single ladies plays. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, then we go into what's this
Weirdo of a
Curly
scene.
Yeah.
selling.
With his like nudie pics and his like.
Yeah.
Also.
It's so good. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, my only thing is like in the 1988 version, like Judd like clearly flashes like 1950s like switchblade, which is just mundo incorrecto. Like, that had not been invented until like
Not there yet.
yeah, like that's a Bowie knife or it's nothing.
Yeah. So then he goes into like he was like selling death to Judd. Like wouldn't death be way better than people hating you?
So like that's so sad.
That's so horrible.
You should kill yourself.
And
you could hang yourself from the ceiling. Like it'd be fine.
Seriously, it's like literally, it's like an insult now. It's like, oh, kill yourself.
Yeah, at the very least an insult. It's like much more than that.
I mean, in commonplace, in common dialect today, it's like such a never mind.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, and like even worse than that is that like Judd totally understands what he's doing because at the end of that song he's like, maybe you go first.
Yeah,
like,
it's true.
Hey, fuck you, dude. Like,
do you think he knew that the whole time? Like, do you think he was like, I'm gonna buy into this so that then I can sell it to you? Or do you think he realized it at the end, like, oh wait, no, you die.
Judd is like very like gruesome, but he is not dumb. Like
he's really not.
He's really not like, and I think like that's like. The person playing Judd Fry has like so much legwork to do because they need to like be unlikable enough that your main character singing a song might be like, maybe you should just kill yourself. Like still is like, maybe he should. Like maybe that is what he should do.
Curly's still a good guy.
Yeah, Curly is a good guy.
He's still okay, even though he's dying.
Right.
And there's nothing inherently in the script that says that Curly doesn't, or I'm sorry, Judd doesn't really do anything bad.
Yeah.
Up to this moment.
Yeah, up until now, he's just kind of like the weirdo in the corner.
Yeah,
everyone's like mean to him for no reason.
And I feel like he doesn't even do that much bad when they get to the auction, and they're like everyone's like hating on him, and it's like he's not.
He's just trying to.
Well, then he is terrible, admittedly.
Right,
but there's it's a hard.
Even when we come to the auction, I'm interested to see what you guys think about that because. That was very definitely for me. Like, I mean, I need to look up who in my notes. I guess Schuler Hensley, who plays Judd Fry in the 1998 version, is just like really phenomenal in everything that he does to like both make you hate Judd Fry in spite of like how much pathos you should feel for him. And like the way he does it, he's just like
really great actor.
He's amazing. Like when I found out that when he was Curly, like off Broadway, I was like, well, yeah, no duh. Like he kicks Hugh Jackman in the teeth.
Yeah.
He's so much better at singing than Hugh Jackman is.
Not difficult,
but it's Hugh Jackman.
It's Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. So then we go into the dream, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the dream. The dream.
Another beautiful song.
Mm-hmm.
So why? I guess it was just because they weren't good enough dancers. Like, why'd they have to swap them out?
It's usually swapped out. Just because they're not, like, ballerinas.
Yeah. But I feel like couldn't they have just built that world around them and, like, let them... Like, mark of a good choreographer to me would be being able to build that world. Work with what you got. Agnes. Why just screw up?
I think
I'd
rather, like, if it's gonna be just a dance thing, I'd rather watch a good dancer than have the same actress. Like, I'd rather.
That's true.
And then I'd rather for the rest of the show have someone that can act than be a good dancer just for that bit. So I'm fine with switching out.
Okay, so they made those decisions on the basis that like we're putting the best person for the job at that moment. Like we want a good actor, we want a good singer,
and especially on stage, like if their bodies are similar and they're like wearing the same clothing, you probably can't really even.
It's true.
Tell that hardcore.
You could tell in the movie.
Yeah, like it's very clear that
Curly goes from like this like white, almost like Russian-looking dude throughout, and then to this like the new guy is like this very Hispanic, strong jaw,
very tan. Yeah,
just like you're not. This
he's
is
been
not
in the sun. Yeah. He's been being a cowboy.
I guess I get it. I just was kind of like this seems like a strange choice.
It's strange in the 1998 one.
It is
at
all
the
the
National,
same.
it's the same.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, and that was cool.
So Hugh Jackman actually does the like.
He dances that,
He dances
and
that.
Lori's
Lori does.
a legit dancer. Yeah. Which
Basically, everyone doubles up, I think, because everyone who's in the chorus is also
in that sequence.
in that.
Yeah, which was actually another interesting IMDb fact I've just got in my noggin.
All right, let us hear it.
The entire movie was just one sort of full cast that does different roles, and the only reason that the two people got the role of Dream Lori and Dream Curly was because they looked like them. Like they weren't the best dancers in the group. They just happened to be better dancers and also sort of look like them. But then also they didn't look that much like
right place, right time, right?
Yeah. It's a game of inches.
Anyway,
let's talk about the Dream Ballet. Very important, very very famous.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Also, I mean, it sets up the entire reason where you're supposed to be like nervous for Lori at the auction, and it's one of the reasons why I feel like the auction is like a much weirder scene than most people give it credit for.
Yeah.
Because like, and this is again like I feel so weird like watching professionals do Oklahoma because like it makes it so clear that like high schoolers should not be doing it because it's literally like it's straight up just like Lori is afraid of being sexually assaulted. Like that's what it is.
It just ends with her like waking up being like, I am so afraid to be raped.
I mean, it's
awful. Yeah. I enjoy that like the scary place he takes her is a burlesque.
And she like kind of likes it.
She's like, ooh la la.
I'm okay with this for a minute.
Yeah.
Oh wait, this is my life.
Oh wait, the assault is not cool.
The assault's not cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I mean that's really what I get out of it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and it does put you in the right. The movie does so well. It's probably not the first time, but it's one of the first times that you're actually getting an atmosphere, an environment that is has been fabricated.
Mm-hmm.
So like you kind of get like throughout the movie, for the most part, you're actually like you're outside, or at least very similar outside. In the dream sequence, it's very clearly fabricated, like intentionally so, and then so is the auction, and it sort of sets you up in like this haze, this still like this dreamy haze that like, and then when you get to the auction, you're like kind of still in this like, wait a minute,
yeah, like the barn is like open.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's nighttime,
right? Whereas every other moment in the musical, you're at like a legitimate scene with like the smokehouse is an actual home, but the auction's the first time where it's like this weird rickety like half roof off barn.
Yeah, that's interesting too. Because in this 1998 production, it's kind of like that as well. Like there's like a legit looking house and all these other things, and then the set for the auction, and when they sing Territory Folks and stuff like that, it's like it's an open type of deal, like the movie. It's
an interesting choice, and I wonder if that's trying to connect sort of the two darkest scenes in the of maybe three darkest scenes.
Everything's blending together.
Yeah, possibly.
It's just sort of like
in that also the end of that dream sequence, which was very long again. The way that everyone sort of freezes, I don't know if they do this in the 98 version, but
I think so.
They sort of freeze while Lori is trying to find her way sort of back. Like she knows Judd's there, and she's trying to find her way back to Curly, and everyone's just sort of frozen. It was very well done. It was like, she's like confused and lost and like running through meadows of people. It was cool.
Good job,
Agnes.
Cool.
It was nice. It was nice to see that. Great job, Agnes. The thing that I will give you credit most for is frozen people.
People actually not moving.
It's the dance steps they don't do.
It's like jazz. Cool.
What's that?
The
Territory
last-
folks.
Farmer and the Cowman.
Yeah.
Love
My
that
big song.
That's your
Yes,
big
it
song.
is. Yes, it is.
Your big moment.
The big moment in the sun.
Your time to shine.
Yeah.
Do you want to sing us a little?
No, because I did it in like a really like terrible like twangy accent. And one night, I had like a mustache, of course, because
Had to.
no one was going to believe that I was like a weathered judge. And the spirit gum that was keeping it on like came off, so it was just like flopping into the wind every time I had to sing the Farmer and the Cowman should be
that's
friends.
Did the scene like
Yeah, but no, basically by the end of it, I just was like, oh ha ha, very coquettish. A very flirty Judge Cook. He's single and ready to mingle. That said, having like, because it was my song, I was always like focused in on like doing it well. But that song fights for its premise like so hard. Like at no point before the song is there ever any hint that there's even two separate like clans of people.
Wait. Why do the farmer and common need to be friends? There's no precedent for this altercation.
Like, everyone like busting each other up until Aunt Eller, cementing herself as the coolest character, like, puts the gun to his head and is like, all right, like sing it, Andrew.
It's very serious.
so cool.
Like the audience
Super
has
cool.
not been let into this community hatred yet.
Yeah.
It's this horrible hatred, dividing line between the farmer and the
Oh
common.
man.
All right, so then we jump into the
Big
auction.
And 2-bit scene.
2 bits.
Where do we want to start? It's a big scene.
Big scene.
Big scene.
Do you want to start with the Ellie Hakim and Will like B plot?
Yeah.
Because that's the way it kind of starts.
It's
The
a cute
biggest
time.
the
It's a really
biggest
cute
missed
time.
opportunity for me.
Really?
Biggest missed opportunity. I was so excited for Ali Hakim to just start pulling random things. When he's pulling things out of the bag to determine how much he's going to pay for them. That was the only scene I wrote down that I wanted to go on forever. Just keep pulling things out of this bag. And
And they just get weirder and weirder.
it's just
It's
an
like
anvil.
what's like clearly a vibrator with a hand crank. It's like, what is this? I think it's a back massager.
I call that the little wonder.
Yeah, oh, exactly.
Yeah. I just wanted it so bad, and like when he pulls out a scream mask. Like,
Yeah.
oh, wait, that's
I've never seen one of these before.
I wanted it so bad, and they only pulled out 3 things in this version.
It's gonna be blacksmith's anvil.
Yes, exactly. What are these things? A TGI Fridays meal. Like, I don't know. I would say I wanted it to go on, but it didn't.
TGI Fridays.
But it was great. All right. Anyway, so yeah, pulling things out of the bag. Great scene. Why? Unless you wanted to talk more about the conversation between Ali Hakim and Will. Why are they auctioning off lunches?
This isn't super well explained. It's lunch and a date with whoever
I assumed that.
it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
quite weird.
No, it's a thing that happens.
It's
Happens on Gilmore Girls.
Happens on
course.
Gilmore Girls?
Gilmore Girls, famous Oklahoma at the turn of the century period piece.
That's right.
I mean, I definitely agree with you. It's like a bit of a narrative conceit to just be like, if you bid on the lunch of the girl you like, that means you're betrothed, because that's basically what it means.
Right.
I think it like also means that you're like getting some of that strange during like
You're gonna bang.
you're gonna
After you
like
fill your belly with rotten sweet
You're gonna
potatoes.
fill your pussy
You're gonna
with-
fill
a
it.
3-day belly ache.
A 3 days. That's right.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's something just like, because one, it's to raise money for the schoolhouse, and two, it's just like, I feel like it's just like the only thing that makes sense, like, auction off lunch with, like, the girl, which, like, seems a little, like, weird nowadays.
Yeah, it really, really.
Not really okay with it, but
Also love that they were building a schoolhouse, yet you see no children in this environment.
Right.
they're like
I
2
get
little
it.
girls.
Yeah.
Oh, there are?
And that's it.
I
And they
didn't see-
dance in the Kansas City song and then the Dream Ballet. But that's it.
You?
And they're not like that young.
Yeah.
They're like 15. They're
Oh.
twins. Anyway.
Yeah, so it's like there's no children. But we're gonna, if you build it, they will come.
Everyone's about to start getting pregnant after the box
Exactly.
social. Yeah, they're gonna bang, and then they'll all be the same age because everyone got pregnant on the
Perfect.
same day.
That's
Yeah.
probably all related.
So
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I guess the thing the thing that like makes me feel so weird about like the bidding scene is just that like you know like Darkest Timeline is that like Judd Fry wins and like sexually assaults and like possibly murders like their best and their brightest. But like literally everyone in this like everyone in this territory who has like grown up with Laurie and has essentially watched her grow up is like, well, I guess we should probably stop this weird loner from like sexually assaulting this woman. But like that was gonna cost me more than like $3.50. Like yikes.
Gotta break the bank there.
Right.
I had to save my own kin from sexual assault.
Exactly. Which is just like it's so like it's
Really
so
bad.
gross and weird.
Very bad.
And like the fact that Curly is just like, oh, I don't know, someone getting auctioned off. It's like, dude, don't be a dick about this. Like, this is not the time nor the place.
This is not the time to be
Don't
too
try to be all
cool.
smooth.
to like kick in your heel, like double down on being a moron. Like,
You're gonna have to be serious here because you're saving her from sexual assault.
right.
I really don't think that people like understand how dangerous Judd is, though.
For sure.
To be fair, like I don't think they understand the full extent of Judd's crazy.
Because we get that with Aunt Eller too, when she basically just tells Laurie that she's being like crazy, and
Yeah.
Laurie's like, no, he literally stands outside my window every night, and it's
Yeah.
really creepy.
Yeah.
And she's like, but he's a good farmer.
Best farmer I ever had.
Exactly.
So YOLO, I don't know.
So YOLO.
YOLO. You
Don't stand in front of your window.
That's
Aunt
right.
Eller, no.
Aunt Eller.
Eller does have some very questionable moments in place. Like, there's moments where she's sort of like, you're just complaining too much, Laura. You're like, you're asking
Rub some
for
dirt in
it.
it.
She actually like uses essentially the phrase like you're asking for it, Lori. Like,
Yeah.
sexual assault. It's like,
Come on. 1943.
Wearing those overalls all over the place.
Exactly.
Is it overalls in the movie? Because there's definitely overalls in
No.
the stage show.
It's overalls in the stage show.
And there's
I
for
didn't
sure...
see it.
When you
Overalls.
first meet her, Laurie's in overalls.
Oh no, she's in a dress.
Yeah, she's in
Yeah.
a full-on dress in the movie, yeah.
And there's for sure like a no one knew she was beautiful moment until like Aunt Eller like brings out the dress she's gonna wear to the dance and she like changes into it.
So,
It's like guys, it's
Curly
just
likes her even though she wears pants.
right. Even though she has to perform work.
She's the cutest one there. We all know it.
But that's also the thing is like in every single like musical like family. There's always like two tags that everyone's like, I don't know if they're gonna get together, and it's like, no, clearly.
These are the two hottest ones in town.
We've made that very clear.
She's not gonna settle.
She's not gonna settle for Cordy Lamb.
So it's scary.
It's scary for
Yeah.
sure. It's like scary and weird, but I also think your point that like no one really understands like the point to which they should be frightened of Judd Fry.
Yeah.
Because at that point, only Curly has heard him talk about like that clearly veiled thing where he like burns a bunch of people to death in a
Oh
barn.
my gosh.
Yeah, so that was
So scary.
A good
not-
joke.
It was him, even though he said it wasn't him.
Yeah.
It was clearly you, I think, because you're doing it again.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Right. Well, it's like
Really?
why he's like a drifter is because you're like
Because he murdered a family.
Yep.
he's like mentally unhinged.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really bad.
Arsonist.
So Curly should have saved her earlier too, because he knows. And then he sells his saddle and his gun, and that's kind.
And his horse.
And his horse.
His horse too.
What's he gonna do?
Until the horse moment, I was like,
Farmer.
until the horse moment, I was like, I think you could do better than a saddle. I think he sold his gun afterwards. I was just like, really?
gun
Just
last,
the
yeah.
The saddle, but.
I mean, I can always use two guns. Like,
Leighton's the moment, though, of course, when this may be slightly out of order, but when Will offers $50 for that basket.
Yeah, before that, he's such a cutie pie.
such a clod. Like, such a dingus.
I wrote exactly right. I wrote, Will, man, you are just a dingus. I wrote it here.
It's like
So dumb.
really not smart by any stretch of the
What a
imagination.
cutie pie.
Oh my god! But it's good comedic relief.
Yeah.
And Ali Hakim spending so much money to get out of
To
his
get rid
engagement.
of
Yeah.
He spent $101 to get her out of his life.
Is it 101?
Well, because he paid for all that stuff, and that was $50.
Oh, you're right. And
And then he pays 51.
But I guess I just don't. What doesn't jibe for me is why Judge Carnes is like so mad that he does this. It's like, dude, you don't care. Like,
You don't care, you just want
We're getting you
$50.
$50.
Right, you getting your
Maybe he
$50.
wants, like, Annie to travel out of town with
That's
him.
probably what it is. Instead of
Because he
having,
hates
like,
her.
God, that's so sad.
He hates her.
It's so sad. But no one, like, mentions that
I definitely played him much kinder when I was in high school. So I wanted to be liked, and by extension, Judge Carnes wanted to be liked.
But maybe I wouldn't have related to you. Maybe I wouldn't have chosen your version.
That's fair. I wouldn't have.
That's kind of a bummer, Dan.
The Little Wonder, though, it's the most like complex and bad way to murder somebody ever.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't make
It wouldn't
sense.
work.
You would just like cut somebody, which is bad.
I don't even think you would.
You're not gonna first of all, you're not gonna punch through somebody's sternum with that. Like, that's not happening.
No, it would just pierce some skin.
I'm not even sure it would do that. I think it would just spring load and hit him on the chest.
But so he was saying that it springs open and then you come
and you
whack it down into them. But
it's still a lot of force.
They would have enough time to react and be like, "What are you doing?" And it's not going to be sharp enough of a blade or strong enough of a blade to stab your heart. Like, what the hell?
I literally wrote, and what is step 2, dummy? Everyone's gonna see you stab Curly. Everyone's gonna what are you gonna do? Lay him down real low? Oh, Curly's just going to sleep.
I'm gonna have it, guys. Don't worry about it. I think he was gonna just grab Lori like Donkey Kong and run up several ladders and start throwing barrels down.
Absolutely. You're like Curly with a knife wound has to jump up.
Just
Mario.
So sad.
Yeah, there's no out route here.
So
although I did say I knew it wasn't gonna happen, but I really badly wanted Curly. Not that I didn't like Curly, but I thought, what a great plot moment if he were murdered there.
Right.
That would be so cool.
So dark.
All right.
So bad.
All right.
Musical over.
Yeah.
It's also that's something Hakeem's other good scene is when he's I helped sell this to him, but I don't want to see Curly get murdered.
Although I agree, and I know we referenced this earlier. He doesn't do much.
True.
He's hey, Aunt Ella, can you go take care of this? I'm not going to do it, but will you go take care of it?
I don't have nearly enough skin in the game. I can just cross this, route off my life.
Ridiculous.
I don't gotta go here no more.
Yes, it was a very altruistic moment for Hakeem, but not really. Not really.
Yeah,
no, true.
That's fair. He did enough.
Yeah. He did just enough.
Just enough.
Yeah. Then we jump to the wedding?
No, it's All or Nothing's next.
All or Nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. How could I forget? How could I forget?
Our favorite song.
Oh, it's a great one.
It's a great one.
It's a fun couples number, I think.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a really fun duet.
The least amount of dancing in the whole show.
Yeah.
True.
So Dan loves it.
Right. I was fine with it.
She's really fine with it.
Although the blocking in it was sort of, I know it was definitely intentional, but there's a moment where Will spins a fence, a gate open, and then just traps it in.
Yes.
And it's that's weird. This is an inappropriate
In
moment.
the end of the national one, he just puts his arms out onto a fence and is like, "Kiss me!"
Yeah.
He's can't escape. It's oh.
Taken away on a boat of horniness with my kiss.
Go to horny jail.
Go to
Will.
God. Yeah, Annie definitely needs to go to horny jail.
They both
They do, yeah.
Horny jail.
We'll
Or they just need to bang.
They do.
They may be the only two characters who can be played by high schoolers.
Yes.
In the throes of hormones and
Yeah.
Parts of Curly and Lori's story are best expressed by high schoolers of being I don't like you.
Yeah.
I hate you so much.
Yeah.
What are you
Cuties and you
wearing?
suck.
Who are you going to the dance with? And I just think about you every night.
Stalk your Facebook.
Absolutely. I'm liking your photos from months ago after you broke up with your last boyfriend. But all or Nothing is it's because so much of that song is Will trying to go listen, you gotta settle down, you can't be smooch, you can't be kissing every guy that looks you crosswise, and then Andy really shoots back and being oh yeah, you're just gonna go out to the bars, have a good time, oh maybe I'm just asleep every night when you come home. I don't know, Will, just something to think about.
That's a good point. She does. That is a I actually just swept out of the run because I hated her so much. But that was a moment where she was you don't wait up for me because I'll be out.
Yeah, because I'm more fun than you.
Get my F on.
Yeah.
Well, her flirt on. She
Yeah.
doesn't get her fuck on.
I just said F.
Her F.
You fill in whatever F word you want.
Okay.
Getting her fun on.
That
Getting
makes
your
me feel
phone
better. Good.
Yeah, that was a nice scene.
They're a cute couple.
They are.
Inevitably, yes, but for a little while they're pretty agonizing.
I mean, Character actors are like always more fun
Yeah.
to watch
Yep.
than like two really pretty people.
Yeah. Where everything's really
Where they're just really pretty, yeah.
They're fun. They're a fun couple.
Right?
They swing.
There you want at your dinner party.
They swing hardcore. Like,
Hey!
Once you wanted your dinner party, but then who you would inevitably kick out because they've been too belligerent.
true.
For like that hour and a half. Ooh, fun times.
So we want to skip ahead to the wedding because there's the reprise of People Will Say We're in Love.
Yeah, there
There's
is.
not like too much to say about it.
Not
aside
much to
from,
say
like,
about it.
Cute.
it's cute. It's finally like they're admitting their true feelings for each other.
Yeah.
It's very validating.
Prize. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was a good juxtaposition to the goofiness of the previous, what the heck's the name of the song we were just referencing?
Oh, All or Nothing.
All or Nothing. So it's a nice juxtaposition. That was like genuine adoration and love, whereas
Yeah.
the other one was kind of goofy. No, that was nice. It was a nice number. It wasn't terrible. No
And-
dancing.
No
No
dancing.
dancing, so great. And again, like, you have to think about Oklahoma as setting up all of these tropes.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, like, they set up the reprise,
Yeah.
and this is, like, the first musical to do that and stuff.
Yeah.
And then it, like, happens in tons and tons of musicals after it.
Definitely.
Nerd Alert has transitioned me a bit
That's my
in
job.
knowing
here. That's my role.
that this was. That's right. You've done your job in this case, and knowing this was the first of its kind in a lot of ways. A little better, but we'll get there. We'll get
A
there.
little bit.
But yeah, for the sake of time, let's just jump a little further ahead into the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Big scene.
Big scene.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Though, how many days have gone by?
Not many. It
It's
must-
one, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Arguably, if you watch
Maybe it's
it,
that night, like,
exactly, it could all have happened in one day. Did all of these things happen? That was a busy day.
it's a big day.
Yeah.
A lot happens in the territory.
It's true.
There's a lot of
But
hours
in
to
one
fill
day.
and not a lot to fill. There's no TV.
So they just do a lot of things. What
They
do we
just-
do next? We got a wedding. Okay.
They're up at freaking dawn singing
Yeah.
songs.
It's true.
Churning butter.
Turning butter, getting frightened.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all happens in one day. Let's just pretend like that.
I'm okay with
the
that.
reality. I don't think anything drastic happened at the wedding itself.
Just a wedding, they sing
It's a wedding.
Oklahoma.
We sing Oklahoma, yeah.
I can't remember if this happens. I think it happens afterwards. The fight when Ali
Yes.
not that fight. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
When Ali Hackham comes back
With Gertie.
Gertrude. Does that happen before or after the murder?
Before.
Before. So yeah. So I love that because in the movie version, at least, Ada, Annie, and Gertrude get in a fight over. I guess what was it?
Will tries to give her an Oklahoma hello because
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, like, well, you gave my girl like a Persian goodbye, so it's only fair.
Yeah. Then they start getting in a fight, and like there was some line or some moment where you're supposed to like. At least I inferred that Gertrude had been murdered at the hands of him. I was just like, whoa! She doesn't come back.
Yeah, because
the end of Gertie.
This is her last
I guess it's just
one.
Gertie, not Gertrude.
Ali Hakim is like, oh, fingers crossed that like.
Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah, because it's Ali Hakim like basically like hoping that Annie will like murder his wife.
Yep. I found that rather amusing.
Yeah, he's,
kind of a
He's like
dipshit.
fuckboy supreme, I would say. Like,
In the not fun way.
and he also like way overstates his sexual prowess when he's describing like going to the hotel with Annie for like a little bit of sex. He's like, for you and me, baby, paradise. And I'm like, nah.
It doesn't look like it.
Also, there's no other ways to describe it. He just describes it as paradise twice.
Right.
It's gonna be paradise. Oh, I thought it was just a room.
It's like two pumps and then you're done.
Hey.
Two
That's what
pump,
he looks like, right?
two pump Ali.
Alright, so then the...
Well, also, Will, I don't know if this is the case in the movie, but like, literal dumbass Will Parker does not dress up for his ostensibly best friend's wedding. in this
They
stage
don't
show.
own more than one outfit.
What a doofus, man.
This is what I'll wear.
Yeah, this is my whole thing.
If this were set in modern day, he would be wearing one of those tuxedo shirts.
Yes.
Like, I showed up in
There's
my
no
fancy
time
dress.
for a costume change.
That's right.
True.
It's just practical.
Ooh.
Alright, then into the The weird scene where they
Big
go up on
moment.
top of the haystack, we'll just chalk that up as some sort of community ritual, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what? It's a weird time in the movie.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird.
So I guess I'll allow that to be okay, but it's weird.
It's very weird. Yeah.
And then he just starts lighting those haystacks on fire. Which,
Yeah.
dark scene, how fun would that be, though? No people involved, but just going around.
If no one was on top and you just
lighting
lit
these
them.
haystacks on
Yeah.
fire, like, woo!
Yeah.
There was no danger, then yeah, that sounds
It's
fun.
so fun. Anyway, rough scene.
Rough scene.
Yeah.
Rough scene.
And then the fight, right?
Some fight, and then some.
It wasn't even really a
Some
fight
death.
in the movie. It was
He just falls.
he jumps
Yeah.
on him and then he collapses and then he's dead.
And then-
He's stabbed in the ribs.
Goodbye.
Dead.
Well, I know in the stage show they had to get the most out of that sweet, sweet Hugh Jackman man flash because it
Yeah.
takes 2 hours and 38 minutes to like prep you for it. But the fight in the stage show is like really well choreographed.
It's really good.
And it's like an action. It ends basically the same way where like Curly basically gets Judd in like a judo lock. He falls on his like face like with the knife in him, which is way better than the way it normally goes, where it's just like Curly like slowly leading the knife into Judd's heart and then being like, oh he tripped and died.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Oops.
My bad.
Yeah, so it sounds like they did a much better job of that scene in the stage show. 'Cause,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
movie, he
It's
literally.
much scarier and much more dramatic.
Okay, because
And
Curly
stage
just
show.
jumps from the haystack
Yeah.
onto Judd, and then he's dead.
Kind of like
And
And that's it.
haymakerism.
There's like no
Bye.
question.
It's the whole end of that is so weird because like you don't know that Judd is dead. They like take him off and they're like, oh, like I don't know if he's gonna make it. And then like that should just be the end of it.
Yes.
Like he's out of the story.
Yeah.
Like he's wounded probably mortally. It's not important that we get any like resolution for him.
I think it is for Curly's sake,
Interesting.
because he still has to be the hero, and so his hands have to be clean.
His hands have to be clean.
So it has to be like for sure. We need to make sure that Curly
Yeah.
will
Perhaps,
live happy
I-
ever after.
Perhaps I could agree with
For
that
sure.
if it weren't for the events that follow.
Yes.
Where
That's what
the sheriff is like, I'm not so sure about this, and then they blackmail him into being like, well,
yeah.
what if I tell your wife you've been taken up with another lady? I haven't been. What if I tell her that? Wait a minute, I'm just trying to do my job as a detective.
As a federal marshal.
Territory, I don't know.
Yeah, but he says you're up for re-election coming up here. You wouldn't want people to vote against you. Like, I'm doing well.
I
Have to be in a courthouse.
My interpretation of that is that, like, with the proper choreographing, that fight scene can leave Curly's hands clean.
Yeah, and it did in the movie too. He just jumped on him and it was like, oh, he accidentally stabbed
You had a
him.
knife. Like, yikes, sorry,
Yeah.
dude.
I mean, I agree,
Mhm.
but I just think for
For
everything to be tied up in a nice
tiny
little
bow.
bow.
Yeah. To me, that the last few scenes, even the fight in the movie, sort of seemed like they were like, oh, we gotta hurry up. We got lots of things to finish here. And so like the fight was like half a second long. The court scene was like half a second long. It's like, and then that's the end. Now they're gonna go on their honeymoon.
And goodbye, Oklahoma. Yeah.
Lori, like, very quickly recovers from her, like, post-traumatic stress. Like,
And she's very afraid, and then she's like, "Oh, he's dead."
And
Well, I'm
she's just
going
like,
out.
now,
I got a honeymoon to go
yeah,
on.
Pete, bye, everybody. Riding away in a buggy.
Get fucked.
Try to roll up the partition, please.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't want you seeing Lori.
Yeah.
And then we hear.
And then we're done.
Mhm.
The end. Does it end with Oklahoma?
I
Right?
don't think it... Does it end with a reprise? I don't know.
I feel like it does. In the
It must.
movie.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
What a Beautiful Morning? I don't remember.
It does.
Remember.
Oh, What a Beautiful Morning is how it ends.
There we go, of course.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Borko.
So let's score it.
Okay.
Let's score the musical. I think I've been going Katie first this entire time, so I'll switch it up.
Okay.
I'll go me first.
Oh.
So we scored. I don't know if you know this. Writing, pageantry, and music
Pageantry, for
out
sure.
of 5, and you can absolutely go over 5. Writing, I will give it. I didn't write this one down because I wanted you to convince me otherwise. Writing, I'll give it like a 2.5 out of 5. Not great. Kind of nothing happens really, but then a lot of things kind of happen. I guess. I don't know. Nothing happens. One death and a dance. 2.5. Pageantry. I mean, 1 out of 5.
Wow.
The dance numbers, I guess, were like, yeah, you started something. I don't know.
What about the Dream Ballet?
2 out of 5. You swayed me.
Alright,
Music is a solid 3.5 out of 5. I get it.
Alright.
Not bad. There's some good numbers in there. All right, I'll give Pageantry 2.5. 2 2.5s and 3.5.
Ooh.
Not a great score for
Great
Oklahoma. Better than Greece. I didn't hate it. Like I say all of this with the caveat that like I think 10 more episodes of this podcast and I will be able to go back and appreciate Oklahoma as the founder of all of this. But I'm not there yet. Mostly I was just like, ugh.
When we get to other musicals and you see the same stuff,
I
then
think
you'll be
I'll
impressed.
like that.
Yeah.
But I didn't like it. It's like, you don't read.
Well, we'll convert you. It's fine.
Yeah,
We'll get there.
Go ahead. What's your score?
So writing, I would definitely err on the lower end. I'd probably say 3 out of 5. There's just like a whole lot of stuff. I feel like all of the weird, like, larger plot of, like, farmers and the cowman, I don't find it believable.
Yeah.
It's so clearly, like, forced. It's just, like, it's like a lot of other Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals. It's 2 love stories.
Yeah.
Like, that's the part, which is why I find Judd just, like, a weird and, like, odious part of it, is because he doesn't really fit into those.
Yeah.
Because it's, like, it's both, like, a love story between Curly and Laurie, but it's also, like, Curly and Laurie's, like, fight against this external, like, weird force. And then just, like, at the end, I just think it's, like, so sloppy that, like, there is even the trial. And, like, literally the entire town is, like, complicit in, like, the murder of what you can only describe as, like, a mentally ill individual.
Yeah. Like, cool, whatever.
It's really messed up. And, like, you can make Judd Fry, like, not that pitiable, but, like, when you really think about it, you're like, nah, this is, like, the dark secret this town carries with it to the end of days.
Yeah, and I don't think that their writing ever really intended for that to be the case. I think it just happened.
Yeah.
It's just the way events carried out in the script.
I think, yeah, so I'd say 3 out of 5. Pageantry, I would definitely give it, like, a 4.5. I just think, like, I love good dancing. Even the ones that went on too long, like, Will in the stage show in 1998 is, like, a phenomenal dancer, and he's incredible in Kansas City. And those are just, like, a lot of, like, fun. It's, like, it's fun to watch people do that. It's fun to watch, like, highly choreographed dance. And then, again, like, I can't ignore Nerd Alert, and just knowing that, knowing that, like, this is the first time anyone, like, tried anything like the Dream Ballet, even if I did not appreciate it when I was in it, now I can sort of be like, oh, that's so cool that, like, that's how they did that. Then music, I would say, I give it 3.5. I give it a 3.5. There's a.
I thought you said I give it a half.
A half. No. 3.5. There's a couple snoozers. I think Oklahoma is a good. I think I said this at the beginning. It's a really good title number. I really like "Story with the Fringe on Top." One of my favorite scenes in When Harry Met Sally is when they sing that at the karaoke machine.
Don't know that.
Oh yeah, it's a great movie.
Nice.
With Billy Crystal as the world's oldest U Chicago graduate.
Best rom-com.
Just stick him in like a baseball tee and some chucks, and he'll look like he's not 40 years old.
Oh my god, it's so
He's
good.
really good.
You and Liv need to watch it one night. It's really good.
And then I mean, like I really have to give props to "What a Beautiful Morning."
Great song.
As
Great
basically,
song.
and also like. I don't know if you guys know this one, but when Matt Parker and Trey Stone were first experimenting with writing musicals, their first musical, Cannibal the Musical, which is one of the only people in the United States tried for cannibalism, they just like rip off Oklahoma like wholesale.
Oh, nice.
To the point where like the first song is literally just "Oh What a Beautiful Morning" with the serial numbers filed off.
To be clear to the audience, those are the writers of South Park.
Yeah. Oh yes, of course. Now better known as the writers of the Book
And
of
Book of
Mormon.
Mormon, yes, more importantly. For this show.
Yeah.
For this show, yeah. And yeah, I mean, like that's my assessment. I mean, like I picked it, so I must have had some reason to enjoy it. So
Word.
yeah,
Cool.
Bring us home.
Okay. I think writing, you're right, it's not great.
Nope.
Just for the time period though, and for what it was, and for being the first, I'm gonna have to give it 4 out of 5.
You're so generous.
It's a good one. I mean, we're not picking shitty musicals here.
Well, we probably will.
Well, yeah, eventually, but right now we're not. And then pageantry, a 4 too. We could do more, but again, like dancing, they have some good big spectacle numbers, some good like huge dance in the Dream Ballet. And then music, I'd say 5 out of 5. I think it's a solid score.
Wow.
Songs that get stuck in your head that you want to sing.
So you're saying there's no way to get higher. That's the topic. Although we went over
I think that it's equal to some lovely other scores. I think it's right up there. I think Rodgers and Hammerstein, like, you just don't, it's hard to get better
All right.
than their music, though. Yeah.
So we got the pretty bad, pretty good, and a very good. I think is really the gamut that we've got here. All right, so
Can we do music now?
yeah, let's
really
jump
excited
there.
about this one.
This is I love this segment in our podcast, and I worked really hard to come up with one. I don't love the one I came up with, but I do like the one I came up with. So I'll
makes
start
me feel
because
good.
I'm not super enthusiastic about it. In the song, I can't say no. Is what it's called. I wanted to replace it with Shoop by Salt and Pepper. Which, we
How
will,
does that one go?
we'll play it right now.
Baby, shoot.
That sounds sexy. Here I go again, girls. What's my weakness? Okay, then
So,
chill.
yeah, it's all about the men, and she's meeting a dude that she's all like, ooh, all right, I dig this guy. Girls, what's my weakness? Men. Okay then. So
Okay,
that's
then.
what I wanted to splice in.
That's cute. I dig it.
All right, who wants to go next?
I'll go next.
All right.
So I really fought to not immediately do like the smarmy answer, which was of course in basically the beginning of Story with the Fringe on Top. I feel like That Don't Impress Me Much by Shania Twain. It's either that or Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy. Just like replacing every single one of these. But the one I ended up going with was, I feel, and like, this is a weird one. I also don't love this one, but I'm like prepared to like square my heels and like fight for it. Is like, Don't Know When to Quit.
Yeah.
So that's the basic gist of it.
I prefer That Don't Impress Me Much, but it's a great choice.
Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy was excellent.
Thank you.
Great choices.
Yeah, good work. Good work.
All right, what you got?
I'm so excited about this.
Come on, boy.
So, in Surrey with the Fringe on Top, it's not as clear in the version that we watched, but in the movie, there's a part where he whispers, "Don't you wish it go on forever?" That whole, "Don't you wish it go on for a long time." And so that reminded me, of course, of the Whisper song.
Yes.
But then, listening to the lyrics of the Whisper song, like, Sorry with the Fringe on Top is basically Curly being like, "You want my dick." And the Whisper song, he's like,
that.
"Wait till you see my dick."
Yep.
White
What's that
bitch.
song actually called?
I think it's just called the Whisper Song.
Not on Spotify. Yin Yang Twin. I want Curly to be a Yin Yang Twin so bad. Yes.
So good. It's just, it's the subtext of Sorry with a Fringe on Top, right?
Yeah.
So we'll just cut all that
When
out.
you see my wagon, oh my dick.
My wagon.
All right, very nicely.
Thank you so much.
Excellent.
Let's round it out with my favorite activity. Hashtag that. I love the scene where Ali Hackham is pulling things out of Will's bag, talking about what they are, and I love the scene where Ali Hackham is showing Aunt Eller the things like the girder, or, is that what it's called? No, the garter. There it is. So, along those lines, if you can, give me a tweet. The hashtag what's in the bag. Hashtag what's in the bag.
Hashtag, an IKEA mom dresser.
An IKEA mom dresser?
Mom dresser.
Mom dresser.
Yeah.
So he pulls out. Does it come
So
with the
fully,
instructions?
no, it's just the box, and then he has to build it.
And I lost the instructions. Hashtag what's in the bag.
What's in the bag?
Alright, what you got?
Feel like the nicely boxed up lie of the American dream. Hashtag what's in the bag.
Whoa! Very political, Borko.
Go west, young man, and then see if it's no better.
It's not always rare.
The great answer, and I also love your answer of a wind-up dildo. All right, what do you
Churn.
who wants to go next with their hashtag?
No, I'll go next. All right, this is hashtag things I can't say no to.
That's sweet D. Things I can't say no to.
A little on the nose, but I like it.
I'll go again.
Feminist interpretations of loose women.
Hey.
Things I can't say no to.
You're giving all the right answers.
Well, I want to get invited back, so.
A nice steak dinner. Hashtag things I can't say no to.
Lovely.
Can't say no to a nice steak dinner. There we go. All right.
All right.
Cool.
Round us out.
I feel like hashtag things you'd bid 2 bits for.
Ooh, 2 bits. You take us in many directions, I think. Shirley Jones skinny dipping. Hashtag things I paid 2 bits for. Bid
Yeah,
2
fair.
bits for.
Ooh, wow.
Not too muchy.
All right, Hugh Jackman's going to just him shirtless on that table, like with the overalls, and then he's punching him. It's so hot.
It's like really, yeah.
It's like so manly.
Like they knew what they had. Like when they cast.
That's why they cast him for that scene.
And he's
for
like
him to like be rugged.
He's like a little sweaty too.
Oh yeah.
Got kind of like
Those stage lights, but ooh.
that thick muscle, like he's not trying too hard.
Just
The end
working.
of this conversation, hashtag things I paid 2 bits for. Just kidding. All right, well, that's our show. Thank you so much for being here, Borko.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Thank you for choosing Oklahoma. I hope to appreciate it someday.
Yeah.
You will.
Someday.
Someday. Awesome. Well, thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening in.
Thank you.
Bye.
Your word is Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Could you use it in a sentence, please?
Yeah, Oklahoma, where the winds come sweeping down the plains.
Oklahoma. OKLAHOMA. Oklahoma.
Woo-wee!